it's not that bad. Okay, we're good. Wow, good morning, everyone. Long story short, I'm having a really bad dilemma because I don't have service. Last night around 5 p.m. my service just cut out, and that was around the time the snowstorm was getting pretty bad around here. So I called my brother because I was able to make a phone call, and I said, can you look up if there's any power outages or Verizon outages in Southwest Virginia? And he couldn't find anything, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe it'll come back on in the morning at the very least, and maybe there's no outages because nobody can report it because their phone doesn't have service. Ooh, it is cold! The reason I didn't record my truck stop experience last night is because I slept here the night before and I had a blast. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. But last night, it just started, well, I was gonna sleep here anyways just because of proximity and where I was going to go. I was gonna go into West Virginia, and then I had my whole entire road trip there planned for the next couple days, and I was so excited. And then I looked at the weather, and it was just dumping all over West Virginia, and I'm not gonna put myself in that situation willingly. So I slept here last night, and then I was going to do a road trip up i81 essentially in Virginia, but I don't have service, so I don't know how well that's gonna go. Yeah. So anyways, I'm just gonna drive until I get service, I think. Just gonna go get some gas. I have the most embarrassing confession. My cellular data turned off. This entire time, it just turned off. It wasn't because the cell tower went down, it was because it just randomly turned off. But why would it just randomly turn off? It has never randomly turned off on me. And it was in the middle of a snowstorm, so wouldn't you reasonably think it was outside forces turning the data off? In that case, I'm gonna see if I can still go to the Roanoke Star, which is where I wanted to go in the first place, because I don't think I've passed Roanoke yet. I need to shower really bad, so I figured I'd shower and then carry on with my day. Okay, my friends. Shower taken. I wanted to go to the Roanoke Star, and I might still do that. This road trip did not start out how I thought it would start out. I was literally on my way home because I was convinced my data just wasn't gonna come back. I turned my phone on and off so many times during that drive, and it still wouldn't come on. And then I was like, wait, let me check if it's my data. And it was! I don't know why it turned off. I was literally on my phone yesterday when it turned off. I saw the LTE like go away on my phone. Never done that before. Now that I've taken a shower and I have data, let's start this road trip over. I'm gonna go up to the Roanoke Star, then I'm gonna go to the DeJarnette Sanitarium in Stanton, Virginia, and then the Battle of New Market. I want to go to the battlefield there. I've always wanted to stop there, and then I'm gonna go find camp somewhere. So that's gonna be the day. holy cold and windy and frozen fingers. It's so crazy. In Virginia, the weather fluctuates so drastically. It is brutal out there. Point being, it went from fall to winter in a day when it should have really been winter like 2 weeks ago, but it just refused. It's been in the 60s and 70s. It got up to 80 2 weeks ago in November. What? Now to Stanton, Virginia. I have an hour and a half of driving ahead of me, but that is a-okay. Western North Carolina. I just looked that way and you can see the sanitarium like right there. So I pulled into the Lowe's parking lot because I didn't want to pull into the gate. I didn't want to be sus, you know? That place looks creepy. It seems very sinister. The abandoned DeJarnette Sanitarium stands out starkly amongst the modern-day businesses in Stanton, Virginia, considering you have to pass it to get to the local Aldi. This hospital was heavily involved with eugenics and even has ties to Nazi Germany. The sanitarium was built in 1932 with Dr. Joseph DeJarnette as the founder and manager. He was a respected doctor at the time and believed that sterilizing people with certain traits would prevent those traits from being passed on. He wrote that, quote, "To this class of the unfit, being insane, epileptic, the alcoholic, hereditary criminal, the syphilitic, the imbecile, and the idiot, none of these should reproduce. If proper steps be taken, the unfit can be made to grow annually smaller and finally disappear entirely from our registers," unquote. In 1924, Virginia's Eugenical Sterilization Act was passed. Shortly after he opened the sanitarium, Adolf Hitler rose to power in 1933 and established a eugenics program which DeJarnette praised. He even wanted to extend the sterilization law, stating that, quote, "Germans are beating us at our own game and are more progressive than we are," unquote. He remained in charge of the DeJarnette Sanitarium until 1947, all the while forcefully sterilizing hundreds of patients. He kept advocating for eugenics even after the atrocities of the Holocaust were exposed. Eventually, eugenics was denounced as an inhumane pseudoscience, and DeJarnette's reputation was irreparably tarnished, although the practice continued in Virginia into the 1970s. In 1975, the state took control of the sanitarium and was turned into a children's hospital before closing it in 1996. I think I'm going to drive and see how close I can get to this asylum or sanitarium. Whatever they're called. They're all the same thing to me. I don't care if they're different. They're all the same. I'm really curious what happens if you bite one of these. The next stop is the Battle of New Market. Well, I guess the New Market battlefield. exciting! Sorry, I'm about to nerd out over a bunch of Civil War stuff. I didn't know you'd be able to come in here. I didn't know you could enter the house. Okay, everybody down for a haunted house tour? This house belonged to the Bushong family from 1825 to 1942. Jacob and Sarah Bushong had 4 children and a couple grandkids who lived in the house during the Battle of Newmarket. The house was caught in the crossfire during the battle and then turned into a field hospital when the fighting was over. Is that blood? Oh, it's part of the scene. Oh my god. The barn also became a field hospital for both Union and Confederate soldiers. Although the barn was not burned during the war, it burned from lightning in 1939 and was rebuilt 3 years later. During the battle, 7 members of the family took refuge in the cellar. Throughout the long Sunday, they could hear cannon, musketry, and shouts of the soldiers fighting around their home. Oh my god, this is wild. In 1944, it was sold to a VMI alumni who deeded it to VMI in 1964. Not every farm could boast of a blacksmith and wheelwright shop, but the Bushongs could.
This wheelwright house was constructed in 1974.
There was a delay on that.
Site of the original.
Harrison Bushong, Jacob Bushong's son, was considered a mechanic back then. These shops provided supplemental income for the family as neighbors would bring their tools in for repair. So I read in a plaque inside the house that there was obviously a battle on this land, but the family who lived here had to take refuge in the cellar because bullets were just raining through their house, so they didn't want to get caught in the crossfire. Imagine that. And then, of course, their house was turned into a field hospital. It's so... I'm getting like the heebie-jeebies walking on this right now. So many people have died here. Most of the year, the food was prepared in their summer kitchen to keep food smells and heat away from the main house. The family did own slaves, a 27-year-old male, 24-year-old female named Mary, and her 3-year-old son Israel. They most likely lived above the kitchen. There's an old waffle maker here. Ten out of 10 experience so far. When I arrived at where the Battle of Newmarket took place, I really had no idea what the significance of it was until I researched it. And I just want to say that it is so moving and inspiring, and I'll just get into it. The Battle of Newmarket was one of the last major Confederate victories in the Civil War, taking place on May 15, 1864 in the Shenandoah Valley. General Franz Sigel was instructed by Union General Ulysses S. Grant to march through the Shenandoah Valley along the Valley Pike to destroy the railroad utilized by Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia. Meanwhile, Confederate General John C. Breckinridge got word of Sigel's movements and put together a makeshift army of 2 infantry brigades. 1 cavalry brigade, and a battalion of cadets from the Virginia Military Institute. While Sigel's forces moved into New Market from the north, the Confederates moved towards the town from the south, arriving late in the evening of May 14th. Artillery shots were traded that evening between the two sides. Most of Sigel's force was still not present on the field, and the Confederates were taking a position on Shirley's Hill, just south of Sigel's men. More Federal forces did arrive throughout the morning, and at noon, Breckinridge attacked Sigel's positions on Manor Hill. The Federals decided to slowly withdraw and tried to reorganize a new defense along Bushong Hill. However, Breckinridge launched another attack. During the attack, combined with the non-stop Union artillery fire, mud, and torrential downpour, a gap emerged in the Confederate lines. Breckinridge was forced to close the gap with the VMI cadets under his command, stating, quote, "May God forgive me for the order," unquote. They attacked the Federals once more, with the VMI cadets charging near the Bushong house, losing their shoes in the thick mud, naming the field Field of Lost Shoes. Sigel's lines broke due to the pressure and retreated north. The Confederates had won, and the Shenandoah Valley was safe for the time being. The Union had 841 casualties, including 96 deaths, and the Confederates had 531 casualties, with 43 killed. 10 VMI cadets were also killed that day. That was the only instance where a student body was used as an organized combat unit in our history. VMI holds an annual parade to honor the cadets lost in the Battle of New Market. There's also a movie about the battle called Field of Lost Shoes. Is this not incredible? Okay, I'm gonna go find a place to camp, and I will check in with you guys when I get there. No. Okay. It looks like people have been posting up here for a while. They have a whole dish! They have a dish satellite. They had a dish satellite. That reminds me of all the people in Washington that live in the forest for more than 14 days at a time. The other spot is taken too. I'm gonna attempt to turn around. Oh, that sounds horrible. Since this road trip has kind of been unconventional from the start, considering I didn't even think any of it was going to happen, I'm going to end it unconventionally. See y'all in the next one. The next one will probably be me in Asheville, in the Asheville area. As always, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for coming along with me today. And I'll see you in the next one.